as we get ready for race 2. Here are the positions: Jason Bargwanna, Jason Bright, Garth Tander and Russell Ingall. Don't forget the positions on the right-hand side there are where they started in the first race, and of course the positions are where they finished in the first. Nathan Pretty, an amazing 25th to 7th, and Mark Scaife did good work to come back to finish 8th in the first.
Paul Romano, an outstanding run, jumping up from 31st qualifying position to 9th. An outstanding performance that. John Faulkner alongside Dick Johnson, up from 18th to 11th. Mick Donoghue, 27th up to 12th. So all those cars going off early in Heat 1 really helped these blokes. Darren Pate, 30th up to 13th. Stephen Richards, 16th, didn't make a great move there. But look at Craig Harris, 34th up to 15th in the Ford.
There's going to be some frantic action this time round. Steve Reed will be a little bit disappointed after he could have been in Nathan Pretty's position in 7th. Instead, he's back in 17th. McLean, Nash, Briggs, Skippy Parsons, Smurden, Cranbrook and Greg Murphy with a lot of work to do back in 24th.
Neil Crompton, right back there on the grid after that drama in the first race. Rodney Forbes, Larry Perkins, Mark Larkham back there in 28th. Mark Poole, Anthony Tratt, 30th. John Bowe, what a shocker, qualified 50s, right back there in 31st position. Stephen Ellery, an equally bad day.
Paul Wheel, Dougal McDougall and Truckee Parsons. Now Danny Osborne, a DNS there, that's one of the reserves coming in. Of course, he did not start with Seaton out, Osborne is in. All right, we get ready to go. This will be interesting because the car on screen, what a great shot. The heat haze in the background. Bright was very quick in the first race, and here he gets a shot at his old sparring partner from open wheeler days, Jason Bargwanna. This one will be very interesting. Bargwanna was exceptionally quick towards the end of that opening race. We'll see if he can do it again. Green at the back of this capacity 36 car field. Will the Ford get the jump or will it be Bargwanna? Get ready to go. Race 2 of 3. Away we go, a fairly even start, although Bright may have got the better. He moves across, but Bargwanna will have the inside run. Ingall solidly in 3rd.
Yeah, looks like a nice clean start to Heat 2 so far. It's this big pack shuffled through turn 1. Jason Bargwanna just got the jump on Bright. It's pretty evenly matched as they came off the line, but the Valvoline Cummins car absolutely on fire today.
Someone who did get a very good start, and that's Nathan Pretty. It looks like slowing down. So 7th to the back. Something has happened to the DeWalt Commodore. Scaife got away to a terrific start and was right up there already with Radicic and Longhurst. So watch for Mark Scaife in this one as they settle themselves down on the opening lap. 36 cars all sorting themselves out on the Winton circuit. Bargwanna, Bright and Ingall. Russell seems to have got away to a great start in this one, and he's already lining up an outside move on Bright into the left-hander.
Hard on the brakes here. Looking for a good exit speed down the main straight. You can see the Falcon's putting its power down really well there out of the tight corners, and that's giving Jason a little bit of breathing space.
I'll tell you what, with this cold groaning problem the tyres are having here at Winton with the low speeds, the treads are getting ground off the tyres. There's Rodney Forbes, the Sydney privateer, in trouble on the DeWalt car. Nathan Pretty limping back to the pits, but Ingall on the attack, comes up alongside the Pertec Ford, trying to run on the outside on the approach to the S's, but the Pertec Ford moves over. We go on board with Ingall. I was just saying that looking at the tyres after race 1, the Valvoline Cummins team have really got the setup sorted out on Jason Bargwanna's car. The tyres looked in fabulous condition compared to a lot of the other guys around him.
He had it working in treat, and look at the margin between he and Bright as we go back with Russell Ingall. Bargwanna has taken off. He's gone through the sweeper. That is a handy margin to have at such an early stage in the race. Now, Ingall will run wide there from maybe, or
certainly off the power a lot through there, and the Tander's caught right up. Garth actually, I think, used his rear tyres a lot more excessively than Jason did in race 1. So Bargwanna's certainly in a league of his own this weekend.
By the look of it, Ingall was in trouble with his rear tyres too. You noticed in that first race, about halfway through, he started to drop back. He said his back tyres just started to grain up. He couldn't do anything about it and lost a ton of speed. Garth Tander too was in the same position. The rear tyres really get a monstering around here. Rodney Forbes again.
Now don't forget the final sprint round of the series. It's a full 13 rounds this year. Of course, the Queensland 500 and the FAI 1000 count. But the last short round, the last sprint round, is at Oran Park in Sydney on September the 5th. And you can catch it right here on your home of motorsport between 3 and 5. Look at that shot there. Bargwanna has got a huge lead already over Bright. Ingle and Tander. We'll see if Tander can get past the Enforcer. And you can stay up to date with all the latest V8 Supercar action. www.v8supercar.com.au.
Fantastic to see Tony Longhurst competitive in the Castrol Ford. He said at Symonds Plains they'd done a lot of work on shock absorber development. They felt they'd turned the corner a little bit. I know his engineer Ralph Bellamy, the ex-Lotus Formula One designer, now doing time in V8 Supercars. Hopeful of stronger performances toward the end of the year. And we always see that with Tony, particularly at Bathurst. The Castrol Ford's always quick.
Well, he did well here last year too. He picked up a 5th in the first race. And he seems to enjoy it here at Winton.
Tell you what, that first race though has tightened up the championship battle even more. That's moved Scaife just 22 points away from Craig Lowndes. Russell Ingall 64 points behind Lowndes. Seaton 76, but he's out for the day, so this day is really going to hurt Seaton. And Bright just over 100 points, 106 points behind Lowndes. So that top 5 getting incredibly tight. Russell Ingall's right in the middle of this battle too. Let's go back to this pack behind those leading 5 cars. Paul Radicic made a great move in the opening heat, up to 5th position after a pretty poor qualifying performance back there in 11th. So Radicic really on the move in the 18 car. Mark Scaife too, holding up the flag for HRT on a difficult day for the factory squad.
You'll notice John Faulkner too running the VT Commodore in Victorian police colours this round. As we take a look back at Paul Romano.
It's a good run for the Romano team, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very strong.
Didn't qualify well, qualified back in 31st position. Didn't get the best out of his tyres, but now Romano going gangbusters, took advantage of that big first lap crash, or first heat crash I should say, which eliminated a lot of the leading cars. Now he finds himself right up there in the top 10.
We should make quick mention about that, the Faulkner car too, in the Victorian Police colours. He is supporting and raising awareness for the Victorian Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, which is a volunteer organisation which raises money towards specialised medical equipment. There he is there on screen for major hospitals in Victoria, and it's all about helping out, and it's all about officers that were killed in the line of duty. So well done to John Faulkner Racing, getting absolutely no money out of it. It is a very generous gesture on his part and helping out a community initiative. So well done to John.
I was just going to add, Lee, that they are still looking for a financial backer so they can finish this championship. And John's actually doing very well, considering his last couple of rounds where he struggled a little bit. He's running consistently in the top 10 this weekend, a lot happier with the car. Again, they've been doing quite a bit of testing out at Calder Park, but you probably find Calder's not very relative to the surface here at Winton, which has caught a lot of the teams out, including HRT this weekend.
Right behind John Faulkner is Stephen Richards, who started the day 16th, finished the second race in 14th, that is now up in the top 10. So one of the Wins Commodores is going well. Meanwhile, Greg Murphy is fighting his way through the field after dropping back, and Murphy has come from 24th to 15th as Dick Johnson is right on Richards.
That shot looking back, Craig Lowndes up to 12th position. So he's got himself into a points earning position now. He does this all the time, no matter how bad the conditions are or how poorly the car is performing. Lowndes is always there racking up his points. On board with Dick Johnson up behind Stephen Richards, who survived that high impact crash with Glenn Seaton. Glenn Seaton not so lucky. But here's our leading bunch. Jason Bargwanna, Jason Bright, the 2 JBs. Then we've got Russell Ingall, Garth Tander in the brand new VT Commodore, and Tony Longhurst. It's been like this lap after lap. No one able to make a move. The lap time's virtually identical.
Well, the big difference here is that the interval between Bargwanna and the Pertec Ford has closed up considerably. Bargwanna no longer enjoys that big lead that he had over Bright. And Ingall and Tander are right there, Longhurst looming in the background. Then there's quite a large gap back to Tony Longhurst. So the pressure now starting to come back on as Tander slips up the inside of Russell Ingall. Nice move. Well done.
Very clean move there, and Ingall's really forced us to gather that up. But it's interesting, the lap times now are quite quicker, like nearly a second compared to this time in the first race. So obviously looking after the tyres like the top 6 certainly didn't race one. It's helped them because they're not hanging back. They're now lapping in the low 25 bracket.
25.41 for our race leader, Jason Bargwanna. Lap records are 1:24.00, held by Russell Ingall. At at an average speed of 128 kilometres an hour. Winton's not a particularly fast course, but as you can see, very, very demanding. You try and find a gap here, it's very, very difficult.
Well, Tony Longhurst will be enjoying his time up towards the front end of the field, running there in a very competitive 5th position, right behind fellow Castrol driver in Russell Ingall. Incidentally, Ingall's car is off to the Gatorade team soon. They've purchased the VT, and a new one will be coming along in the Perkins garage.
Interesting too, Lee, the racing now seems to be a lot cleaner, particularly since this the driver meetings with Tim Schenken from Simmons Plains, and also yesterday. You can see that the overtaking so far has been absolutely zero contact, so perhaps that's tidied things up. The racing is still interesting, it's still close, but certainly that the guys seem to be working together, not giving each other racing room, which is what it's all about, really.
I know some of those races we've finished in Cameron with the parking lot looking like something out of a demo derby, like everyone's headlights smashed in, broken panels, headlights. But certainly the last couple of rounds have been much cleaner. I'll tell you the interesting thing, looking at these leading 5 cars, is that 3 of them use Winton as their home test track. The other 2 are Queensland Fords, use Queensland Raceway, which in characteristic is very similar to this place. So it looks like the shock tuning or the suspension geometry or whatever it is that makes the tyres live on a track like this seems to be working.
Lap 9 of 15.
2-car war for the lead here. Bright really applying maximum pressure. These 2 great adversaries from Formula Ford and Formula Holden now going at it hammer and tongs in V8 Supercar. Barguana 125.37, Bright a 125.38, 100ths of a second in it. Maximum pressure driving from the Holden and Ford competitors. Bright looking strong at Winton this afternoon. And Ingall, meanwhile, can't find a way around Gartander, so it's pretty tight.
I was talking with Ross Stone earlier and said, you're feeling the pressure. You know that you've got to come away from here with some decent points because time's running out in the season. He said, oh, well, we're aware of it, but we're okay. We're taking a pretty casual approach today. We're right. Everything's under control. We feel good. He felt as though they could have done better in qualifying. And Bright still qualified 4th. He's very, very consistent in qualifying. And he said, no, everything's under control. We're happy.
It's interestingly, this is where the Falcon seems to close up on the Commodore through around what they call the gum tree or the S's at the top of the circuit there. But then certainly the Valvoline car is not down on power. It seems to be able to stretch its legs down the 2 straights, particularly the back straight, and therefore keep Jason behind. Obviously, it's a very difficult circuit to pass here, so Bright needs to really get a good run out of these 2 right-handers onto the long straight.
After Barguana crashed the car very heavily at Phillip Island, for the rounds that followed that, there were still some parts on the car that were bent, and the team said that they didn't discover that until quite a few rounds later. And once they all got it all their ducks in a row, we see what Barguana can really do with his VT, a la Simmons Plains. Straight on the podium in 2nd position, and he is pole and has not been headed today. Teammate Garth Tanner doing well to hold Russell Ingall out, and there is Paul Radisich driving a race on his own.
Oh, Tony Longhurst slipping back. Mike Skate's got him. He's getting monstered by Paul Romano, John Faulkner, Craig Lowndes in there too. Lowndes just slowly finding his way back from that disastrous qualifying performance in his 1996 championship winning Commodore.
It's a pleasing run for Paul Romano. That team have had no end of trouble this year. Oh! Big domino effect there. Lowndes hit Faulkner, Faulkner hit Romano, and Lowndes has lost out. He drifts wide, and Faulkner was the winner there. Slipped through on Paul Romano, and Stephen Richards is in there also. He's now lost that position to Lowndes. Dick Johnson hanging around, and Mick Donoghue.
And there's Mark Paul in the John Deere machine. Spins like, David Parsons.
Looks like Mark was all locked up and probably didn't actually mean that one. I think you see, locked the rears, got sideways before the corner, and Parsons there was the innocent bystander, unfortunately.
Chris Merton getting it sideways, and Paul Wheel, the winner there, picked up 2 positions.
Well, they've broken away from the battle for 3rd. Just 1.8 seconds now, the gap between Bright and Tander. They've been opening up a little bit. Their time's a fraction faster, 4 laps remaining. Can Jason Barguana hold off this pressure from the Ford of Pertec driver Jason Bright? We're on board with Russell Ingall. Got passed by Tander early on, and he hasn't been able to get back.
Cam McConville, Craig Lowndes was saying yesterday, Winton's one of those funny places where the harder you try, the slower you go. He said you just got to really find a happy rhythm. You agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the harder you try, usually...
Oh, look at Engel up the inside.
And he's through.
Wow, what a beautiful, clean move.
I was just about to say that Garth looked like he was struggling with the tyres a little bit. He's starting to move around just from the in-car out of Russell's Commodore, so he's pounced on it. And Russell's actually lapping quite quickly, but Bright and Bargwanna are still setting the pace in this race.
25.91 for Bargwanna and 25.85 for Jason Bright. They're the only cars on the track circulating in that bracket at the moment. Shell Helix replay, Cam.
Yeah, it looks like Garth's starting to miss the... And there's the back stepped out, so those rear tyres have gone away again. He was just missing the apexes slightly, a little bit of exit oversteer, and Russell straight up the inside.
Coming into this round, the score was at 24-2 to Holden. 24 victories this season to 2 for Ford. And it's now 25-2. Jason Bargwanna on the way to make it 26-2. Engel fighting hard to maintain that third position. We're running out of laps.
Yeah, that's quite an extraordinary situation, isn't it? When you look at it on paper, it looks like the Fords are getting an absolute toweling out there. Eight round wins to Holden, just 1 to Ford. 25 race wins to Holden, just 2 to Ford. But then you find the top 5 of the points. You've got 2 Falcons up there, covered by a points gap of 100 points covering 5 cars. So just shows that if you get out there and you're consistent, you keep racking up those points, you can take the championship fight right to the wire without actually winning too much.
Wasn't that long ago that we said escapers right on Paul Radicic here. We were saying that Radicic was in a race on his own. Now Mark Scape is in a position to move into that top 5.
Well, you can hear he's really feeding on the power there, Lee. Trying to look after those rear tyres. Now full power. But I'd also say Radicic is in a little bit of tyre trouble too, just looking at the lines, and he's left a bit of a hole there, but no, shuts the gate.
Look who's up behind him too, Craig Lowndes. Looks like the Mobile Holden racing team have done their homework after race 1. They found a setup that's working much better around here. The cars are looking pretty competitive.
Well, that really is an outstanding effort from Lowndes, considering he started the day around, where was it, 14th or something like that, drifted right back in race 2, and now he's not only in the top 10, he's in 7th position and challenging Mark Scape for the outside run. Scape's got the inside run into the Motorsport S's, and Faulkner is looming in the background as well. Just 2 laps remaining in race 2. Bargwanna still leading the way, only so slightly over Jason Bright. But this is where the big action is. For 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, Faulkner now comes into the mix.
Well, you might have 2 Mobile Commodores there. They may be teammates, but these 2 are fighting it out for the championship. Lowndes on 11.62, 1,162 points. Scape on 1,140 after Heat 1. So this is a real fight to the line. The 2 guys competing for the Shell Championship Series. Looking out the back of Mark Scape, and Craig Lowndes is not going to give an inch.
And unfortunately for Glenn Seaton, sitting 3rd in the championship coming into today's round, with him DNFing and missing the round, that's going to hurt him majorly in the points.
Sure will.
Great shots out the back of the VT there, and this is where the VS Commodore should really be in a league of its own. With its shorter rear arms, it should, as we mentioned, put the power down better through the tight section of the circuit there. And Craig's got a great run onto the straight here, but I think Scape is going to make him go the long way, that's for sure.
Well, we saw how effectively the VS does climb out of the corners at Calder when Garth Tander was coming onto the main straight and pulling away from Mark Scape.
Oh, look at the power down there at the VS, but again, you have to really brake quite late here. And there is a bump in the road that upsets the braking, but Craig's going right around the outside. Not going to do it. Final lap too.
Final lap now. Can Craig Lowndes pick up a position on his teammate without causing any tears? Let's see. Jason Bargwanna withstanding the pressure from Jason Bright. This battles all the way up and down through this field. 3.9 seconds the gap back to Engel. So the winner's probably going to come from one of these 2. Can Jason Bright find a gap? It's been pretty tough. Bargwanna really on form at Winton this afternoon.
Well, we haven't seen him put a foot wrong in the 2 races today. Qualifying, he had a bit of a mishap on his quick lap. After he posted that time, he spun off going through the sweeper. That's his only mistake all weekend. He's been very smooth and very sensible, and he has handled this pressure from Jason Bright beautifully. And a credit to the Pertec Ford driver as well. He's been equally as smooth. And it's right there, the inside run now. Won't be close enough. So the run to home. Running out of time. Great run, Cam. I'm sure you're impressed by these two guys.
Yeah, and I'm impressed by the lap times too, Lee. I mean, they really are nearly a full second faster than the gaggle of Scaife, Lowndes and Faulkner. But look at the power of that Valvoline car. I mean, it has really helped Jason in this race. Some
history in the making for the Gary Rogers Valvoline Cummins team. They've never won 2 races in a round, and they win here. Bargwanna again. He makes it 2 from 2 from Jason Bright in the Pertec Ford. A nice run by Russell Ingall in the SLX Commodore. He gets there for 3rd ahead of Garth Tander, and Scaife has held on to hold out Lowndes. That's the run to the line, the battle for 6th and 7th. Radicic was able to hold those guys out. That was a good close battle.
Well, how many times do we see it though with these mobile cars? They start the weekend terribly and they just put it all together on the race day. They're very, very good at knocking that package back into shape.
Very valuable points there for those guys as Bargwanna, as we said, makes it 2 from 2 from Bright, Ingall, Tander. A solid run by Radicic. What happened to Tony Longhurst? He disappeared. We'll find out on the other side of this.